Hey, where's my game? There it is. All right. Oh, hello and welcome to Plugging Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugging Along, we did some code fixes and started monitoring the advancement channel for stance changes and fixed the Priority Anthem algorithm to not need to keep on running every second. And today, I'd like to figure out what bugs or issues on our giant to-do list stand in the way from releasing this feature to the general public. As always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions, and we've already got at least one person, give me tomatoes, in chat having problems with plugins. So let me go ahead and, where are we? We are in Mirkwood. So I often like to do my streams kind of looking down on the players below. We are in Oskalad today, and I thought, since this one's actually very player doable, I thought I'd make sure everyone knows how to get on top of the tower if they so want. There's actually a hidden deed for doing this in-game. Spoilers. So the first tower, you come on under here, and you actually need to do this part for the epic questline. So if you are following the epic questline, you're going to do this at some point, right? Oh, let me turn off my assist window. There we go. You're going to be doing this as part of the epic line, so hopefully you've figured out this tower. But if not, it's twists and turns to get on up here, but then hooray, Minas Caliborf. Hooray. Now, there's a little glitchiness with this deed. Sometimes you need to come up more than once for it to really be like, oh yeah, you were definitely up there. But instead of turning under here and going up those ramps, if instead we come along this walkway, and I'm going to be walking slowly here with falling damage for a minute, 20 seconds. Super easy. And then when you're here, go ahead and take a right. We're going to be basically walking along the perimeter for a little bit. And you could keep going along the perimeter, but we do want to duck inside here. Take a right. Our goal is to get up to that tower there. But to do that, we're going to come in this way. I'm going to go ahead and jump this gap. If you miss that gap, there is this little ramp to the right here that brings you on up, but it's not as cool. It's nice to be able to make that gap. And make a U-turn, come on in here. This gap is not jumpable. Oh, so close, but it's okay. You come on over here to the right, and then you get up these steps. You can dressage your horse up them, or it might be easier if you dismount, but yeah, your horse is very capable. It's like a goat almost. And then up this ramp, around the corner, up another ramp, U-turn, take a left, take another left, take a right, and we're basically there. So, keep going though. So at the top of this, Minas Gloroloth, this is the second tower of Oskalad. What was it? Yes, Oskalad in Mirkwood. And if the game properly registers you having gone to the top of both of them, you will unlock a hidden deed in Ravanian, southern Mirkwood, called, I don't know, Mirkwood Tower Climber. And that's good for 5 LOTRO points, 30 marks, the title, Master Ascender, and some increased reputation with the Melodrum if you still need that. So, lots of neat stuff. Okay, so, but that's one of the reasons I'd like to start out up here is it's a really nice shot of Oskalad, and sometimes you'll see players, running back and forth underneath, and it adds that extra little bit of excitement that if I accidentally run forward, I will die. So, let's hope we don't have that happen. In fact, let's go ahead and reset that death count to 0, and hope it stays there for the entirety of the development cycle here. Okay. So, let's see. Give me tomatoes. Tomatoes are great. I err on the side of potatoes, but they are both tatoes, so they're very close. Or atos. Let's see. Thank you for doing plugins. I'm having so much trouble. I asked what's giving you trouble today. Everything. Well, if you have anything more concrete than that, the installation of plugins, a specific plugin, throw that into chat. I certainly don't mind kind of going off and veering into some practical, how do I make a specific plugin work, as opposed to just general, what are plugins and how do we code them up? Farathan, the only day of the week which is worth watching a stream. That's very kind. I hope that it's not strictly true, but I appreciate the underlying intent. Combat analysis. Oh, that's one I've poked at, but I haven't really played with. So if I wanted to do that, let's go ahead and start. Let's go ahead and I have recently yanked most of my plugins out. So because the game is running, I'm going to hit this green arrow in the plugin manager to have it go and re-look what's in my my plugins directory. The game is not keeping a constant eye on this, so you have to tell it, hey, go double check what's there. And you just see that list shrank a bunch because only some of the plugins are there. Okay, so if I wanted to add combat analysis, there's a couple ways to do that. So first of all, LOTROinterface.com is a great resource for plugins. And if I come back here and say analysis, I'm going to see combat analysis. Awesome. We can see the original one, combat analysis. It looks like there's a couple of patches. We'll focus on the original. So most plugins will have some sort of instructions on how to install. So getting started. Awesome. So if I wanted to follow this, that usually works just fine. However, there is also the LOTRO plugin compendium. I'm going to put a link to that into chat here. Plugins. Awesome. So as Moobot has said, there's some cool stuff that we have that a lot of the streamers use, including the LOTRO plugin compendium. This is a third-party program that you can install, and it makes managing your plugins a lot easier. So if I want to come in and say combat analysis, great, it's in the system. Not every plugin is listed here, but many of them are, especially the stable and commonly used ones. So I come in, I click combat analysis, and I say add. It downloaded, it extracted, it's all done, it's there. That's why I really prefer, this is just going to get it right. I don't have to worry about putting things in the right direction. The harder part is coming up here, clicking download. Cool, I have a downloaded zip file. Let's grab my downloads directory. Okay, now I have to extract it, so I have to use however I extract zip files. Okay, that's going to take a minute. Cool, that's done. Now we have something called combat analysis, and then I have to figure out where to put that. Okay, we're going to go into Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins. It should go here, and we can see it's already there. But that would be the manual step of doing this. And so anything LOTRO plugin compendium can do, you can do manually, but it's a lot easier to accidentally do something wrong. The easiest thing to do wrong is to drag this whole folder, the number -combat analysis 481, to put that into your plugins folder instead. And that's just probably not going to work right, because when Lord of the Rings Online looks in here, it's not going to see any .plugin files. It's not going to know what's up. So that can be an easy way to mess things up, is to have the wrong folder structure in your plugins directory. And LOTRO plugin compendium works around that. It does it for you. Thank you so much to Lunar Water in the plugin community for throwing that thing together. So, give me tomatoes. Let me know if that was too fast or too much information. But that's sort of my thought process when it's time to install a plugin. Is I can do it manually, or I can let LOTRO plugin compendium do it. Okay, so now that it is installed, we can, because LOTRO was running, remember, we need to hit this green refresh in order to see in this list. Click. Cool, now we have combat analysis. Combat analysis is in the list. That's really promising. That means if I press load, I expect, hey, we got stuff. So we got a window using the combat analysis logo. That's a good idea. Left click on the new logo to show or hide all of the combat analysis. There we go. All of the combat analysis windows. Right click to bring up a mini menu from which you can blah, blah, blah. Do I see that? Aha! It's right in the middle of the screen here. So move it by pressing Control / or you can disable it from the menu. Great. A lot of plugins will use Control /, which is the default key for reposition UI. So if you have rebound that, you'll want to use whatever you did for your reposition UI here. The default is Control /, and if anyone ever rebinds that, they're just going to have to remember that they did that. But So control backslash lets you move stuff around. Okay, cool. We'll move this little icon around. Great. This is a really interesting little helper hint window. I like the idea of that actually, because the deed tracker plugin just also has a semi-transparent button that becomes transparent when you roll over it. But for whatever reason, maybe it's all of the browns. People just have a lot of hard time figuring that out, and I like this. In fact, I'm going to steal that idea. So I'm going to come into my text editor and come into, well, maybe just this to do for now, but hang on. Borrow idea of a tip window from combat analysis, question mark. And you know what? I'm going to copy that over to deed tracker as well. Okay. So, I think we're done with this. We can left click on this to show and hide the windows. We can right click on it for a mini menu, and we're done. Cool. All right. Good point, Egg Arthur. I was using a English bias there when I said the default is control backslash. That's why I think it's really important as plugin developers that we try to refer to things specifically by their in-game terminology. So at the very least, if you're on a French or German client and someone says the reposition UI keyboard shortcut, they might have a chance of finding that in their French or German and figure out what's up. He said you can always find the reposition UI key combo. It's at the top of the UI settings page. Is it? Hey! Does that change when you change the key mapping? Oh, that's so much easier. Awesome. Okay, now I got to find out. Okay, so if we go to the key mappings and reposition UI, and we go ahead and change that to be, I don't know, control. Is that used? No, don't. I gotta find a key that's not being used. There we go. Control num minus. So if we come into the UI settings, oh, it's not live. Oh, that feels like a bug. Maybe it updates when you log out and log back in. I gotta try that. I'm going to make a note here. Does the UI settings reference for the reposition UI keyboard shortcut update on client refresh? Question mark. Okay, that's fascinating. I would hope that's the case. I mean, most people aren't out here rebinding that key over and over, and I could understand how that might just not be picked up until you do a log out, log in, or even a client refresh. But that is fascinating. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that so that it is the one I'm used to. Otherwise, I'm going to mess myself up. Excuse me. I think there's particles in the air making me sneeze. Okay, so give me tomatoes. I didn't get a sense, and we don't have to keep on going down this road if you don't want to, but I didn't get a sense of what problems you were having with combat analysis, or if it was just a general, you wanted to get it running and you were having trouble with that, or you're having trouble once you had it running. So if you want, toss into chat maybe some more details about your problem, and if not, then we'll go ahead and keep on going. Balt in chat says hello. Balto, welcome to Plugin Along, where we talk about plugins and even do some coding. Farrah, then, may I ask if you are included the inner strength changes? I'd like to use this function for normal combat. That's a great question. Which inner strength are we talking about? Let me pop back up, unload, and let's load up the Minstrel buff plugin. I'm going to go ahead and make that window a little bit bigger for our purposes. All right, inner strength. Improved Inspire Fellows. I think we don't have that. Inspire Fellows will also benefit from the inner strength trait and will cheer up inner strength on your fellows when used. No, I haven't done any coding around inner strength thus far, Farathin. It's definitely been on my to-do list to look at all those other little changes that came with Minstrel 3.0. But the Anthem priority for me was like the highest priority element because just, yeah. And someone on YouTube was commenting like, oh, I don't want a plugin that just tells me what to do and I just click it and I don't have to think about it. And I feel like that's a misunderstanding of my goal of this Priority Anthem. The goal of this is all else being equal, if you can do an anthem, what would you like to do based off of a set priority? Obviously, if you have reason to want to change that, do. Like, this isn't meant to be like, oh, you're a bad minstrel if you don't press this button. It's a, hey, maybe your life as a minstrel is busy and all else being equal, this is the one to do. So absolutely, Lesser Anthem Dissonance gives me that personal plus 20% cry and call damage, but if I'd really rather have something else going on, I should definitely, as a minstrel, override what the plugin is saying. The plugin is just... oh, my apologies, give me tomatoes. I went way too fast. Okay. That is not a problem. So it sounds like you're having a problem getting it installed. So the first thing you should do is when you are on the combat analysis page, and let me just put that into chat, combat analysis. When you're on the combat analysis page, there are instructions here, but it's okay. The main thing is this download button. When you click this download button, you should get a zip file, an archive, a compressed file, that it'll look something like this. 16534164447-combat analysis 4.8.11.zip. That's the file that should now be on your computer. Now, I'm working on the assumption that you are running on a Windows machine. You don't have permission to download for some reason? Well, that's interesting. You don't have to be logged in for that, do you? Huh. It works fine on my end. That's exciting. I guess I would say refresh the page. If you can, just F5 or whatever, and then give that download button another try, because it really does not seem to be checking for permissions in a normal way. It's anything you try to download. You're not using someone else's computer, are you? That's very, very weird. Well, not that I want you to go away, but when I am receiving strange error messages like that make it seem like my computer is not conforming to reality, sometimes I think, when's the last time I rebooted this machine? It's like, oh, it's been like 2 weeks. Okay. So that might be a next step, is reboot the machine, come back fresh, see if you can then download anything. Because a LOTRO interface is just downloading a file. It's just working like any other website. It's not doing anything fancy there. Arthur points out, and this is so easy for any of us to do, is Windows machines like to keep themselves updated regularly. And sometimes they'll be very aggressive about that. They'll do the update, and then they'll be like, hey, I need to reboot. And you're like, not now. And it's very sad, because it's already done the thing that means it needs to reboot, and there's an inconsistency it needs to fix by rebooting. And you're like, no, and it's like, but I need to. And it's like, well, yes, should have thought of that before you did this. But it's already done. And so, yeah, if you haven't rebooted in few days, a few minutes. It's really easy for me, especially on a laptop, to always use the hibernate function because it feels so much faster than shutting down and starting back up. Okay, well, Give Me Tomatoes is going to go give that a try. And really that stands for anyone who is watching now or later. Not that I want you to go away, but if you haven't rebooted your computer in a couple of weeks, maybe think about doing that tonight. Okay. Well, we'll put a pause on that while they go off and tend to their machine health. All right. Oh, Kinesia says hi. Hello! You remind me of the brand name of my favorite keyboard, Kinesis. Not that this is a sponsored message or anything, but Kinesis-ergo.com makes a keyboard that I absolutely adore, although I don't get to use it as often as I would like. No, I want other keyboards. Where are your... there we go. The Advantage line of keyboards. I particularly like the way that the vertical stacks of keys are not slanted like an old typewriter might be, but are instead of like, hey, your fingers are straight, the keys underneath them should be straight also. Also, they're in little cups so that as your fingers move up and down, the distance to the keys gets closer and farther away, and it gives your thumbs something to do instead of like, hey, you do only the spacebar and nothing else. You get to do all sorts of things with your thumbs. This keyboard is amazing. If you happen to have a way too much money to throw away on a toy, this is one of them. Although, if you have way too much money to throw away on a keyboard, let's see. I'll do my search off screen just in case. I don't know, do they still exist? All right, well, the Wikipedia article still exists. So there's a keyboard called the Data Hand, which is ridiculously expensive. And it goes one step further. It says, hey, why are you even moving your fingers? This is like the 21st century or something. So it gives a little will for each of your fingers, and each of your fingers can go up, down, left, right, or in, giving each of your fingers 5 different things you can do, times 8 different fingers, 40 different things you can do. And again, your thumbs are doing things like cap lock, shift, backspace, forward, activating number stuff. And it's fascinating to me. So if you're a person with repetitive stress injury issues, then consider using a keyboard that doesn't require you to move your hand at all. Just the tips of your fingers. And they're really, these are designed to require very little pressure. Like, I don't know, a tenth of the pressure that a normal keyboard takes. So you're not really moving your fingers very much at all. Just a little bit in whichever direction activates the keystroke. Hey, Give Me Tomatoes, welcome back. I was just talking about keyboards, because why not? And so, if you're a person with repetitive stress injuries, and again, have lots of money or maybe an insurance policy that can cover it, keyboards like this that are like, hey, don't move, don't really work your carpals to inflammation. Just have your fingers twitching a little bit. I think they actually use this as a prop in the movie Contact. In the sphere ship that they built, like the hand controls were these things, because they especially at the time had a very futuristic look, probably especially if they spray painted it because they didn't care about it working. So that's the Data Hand. The Kinesis keyboard, again, one that I really like, is also awesome, and also is like, hey, your thumb should do more than just nothing. So anyhow, welcome back, Give Me Tomatoes. I hope you are now able to download a non-zero number of files. Okay. So, did I miss anything else? Oh, yeah, Balta was in chat, said hello. I think we are caught up on chat. Sorry, Fairthon. Yeah, I don't have any inner strength yet. Okay. So, Give Me Tomatoes, give a try. Try to download that combat analysis file here and see if it still gives you trouble. In the meantime, let's go ahead, and today we have a working plugin, more or less. So I wanted to see what if anything is stopping us from just shipping this out the door and saying, be free. Now, I can see one thing right off the back. This background is not great. It's less terrible with some of the other skins. Says, I use my mouse to type the on-screen keyboard. Why work easy when typing can be a workout? Certainly, you do you, right? Like, we all get to choose our own path in life. But I would encourage everyone watching to treat their wrists with care. You do not get any replacements in this life. And in this technological world, being able to use your hands with delicacy can be a bonus. So if you've got the manual dexterity now, do your best to ensure you have it 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now. Life's only going to get more intricate. Okay. I used to joke, maybe sometimes I still do, that as a software engineer, like I can do my job with like a lot of damage to my body. Like if I got into a car accident, as long as my hands still work and my eyes and my brain still work, I could do like 90% of my job pretty well. But those specific things are like, ooh, it's going to be a bad time at work. All right. Oh, there was something else about our. Oh, can you use it to control a television? I don't know, but that would be telekinesis. I like it. So, we have a to-do file with all sorts of ideas, especially this section called Minstrel 3.0 Thoughts. But I think the real question is, would it be worth taking some time? I mean, it would definitely be worth taking some time and making a project board over on GitHub or something instead of just a text file. But that's probably overkill for today. So let's make yet another section. Things to do before shipping the Priority Anthem feature as Minstrel Buff 2 version 2.0.3. It's a bit of a wordy thing, but when in doubt, write more words. Oh! So, I do still have the Extra Life widgets on screen. Standing Stone Games is still delighted to be helping raise money for children's hospitals, especially the Boston Children's Hospital. If you feel like donating money to a good charitable cause, I'm going to put some links in the chat here. Information about Extra Life itself. Give Me Tomatoes has been able to download something. Excellent. If you do donate to Extra Life, please let Cordovan, the Lord of the Rings Online community manager, know using the survey link in chat, so you can get some cool in-game LOTRO rewards that that are hard to come by otherwise, other than donating. And then I am not specifically requesting donations in my name, and Little Redhead has met her goal. She was streaming just before me, but the Standing Stone Games localization coordinator, Sans Eret, is also raising money. This is their first year raising money for Extra Life, and if you'd like to just make a donation in their name, that's the number that's on the screen, the 265 out of 350. I know several of you watching have already generously donated. It's fantastic. Thank you so much for your contributions. So don't feel bad if you don't have the funds available for such an endeavor. But if you do, that is awesome. Okay, so Give Me Tomatoes, it's download. You've downloaded something. Cool. Yeah, so if you have downloaded the file from Combat Analysis, you will get a zip file. Whoops. On your machine, and I'm assuming you're working with Windows. If that's not right, then I'm sure your platform does have its own thing. But on Windows, you can usually just right-click and select Extract All, and that will pull everything out of that zip file. Bam. And we'll leave it there. Let me know how that goes for you. Okay, so whoopsie. So we had a bug. I like to fix bugs if possible, so I would like to do something about this. This is an easy one to replicate, actually. The scaling for how wide these themes are means that if one theme is 20% of your screen and you switch to a different theme, that is maybe going to look bigger than it would have been. So for instance, this window standard, if I go to fixed anthems, the thing got bigger, and not in an unexpected way, right? Like we switch between the two and it's like, why is that window bigger? And the answer is, it's a bug. I think I'd like to fix that. Let's see. Now, there's a note in here about if the screen resolution changes. That's got some subtlety to it. I think we'll hold off on right now, but it's a nice thing. It's nice to have later. Oh yeah, if there's debug statements that are still in there, let's make sure we do something about that. Let's see. Incredibly confusing code to maintain. Well, that's not a bug. That's just that hurts us. Main window and melodic interlude. When the scaling bar is changed, make it visible. Interesting. Yeah, and so what that is if you're changing the scaling of the window, you are changing it, but you're not seeing it. That seems like a neat feature, but I don't think it stops us from shipping. Okay. Melodic interlude. Yeah, so we're using skill shortcuts, a thing that I don't have a good understanding of. And so this just needs more testing to make sure it works for Minstrels of all levels. Give Me Tomatoes has Windows 10. That's exactly what I am working on. I tried going to Windows 11, and I lasted less than 24 hours. And this was on a new machine, so I didn't have to worry about. I just had to reformat and start over. But for me, there were at least two no-goes for me. So for one, I'm a big fan of individual buttons on the taskbar with the name of what the button is. So for instance, we have two different Chrome windows here. And you can see that one of them is LOTRO interface, cool, and one of them is Advantage, that's the keyboards that I was showing off. And so I can tell at a glance that there's two windows and what is going to show up if I click it. Cool, it's LOTRO interface, no surprise. And so on Windows 10, you can choose whether or not the buttons collapse together. Multiple Chromes would become a single button. And you can choose whether or not that text is visible or not. And on Windows 11, you can choose none of them. They're always collapsed and there's never text. And it was a no. It was a hard pass for me. More subtle things like the little area in the bottom right where all your icons collect. On Windows 11, that has to be on your primary monitor. On Windows 10, you can move it to another monitor, which is what I have done. And so the minute I tried to do that and couldn't do it, and all the icons were together and there was no text, I was like, well, it was nice. It's been 6 hours and I don't think I can do this. And it looks like there's some third-party ways to kind of revert back to Windows 10 functionality, but I'm always a little bit hesitant with that kind of a program because maybe they're doing things officially, maybe they're just groveling into the details of Windows and it'll just break the minute Windows changes anything because it wasn't meant to be done in the first place. And so yeah, I think instead I'll just wait for them to maybe bake Windows 11 a little bit more. Maybe they'll implement that feature. If not, it just may be Windows 10 forever. I don't know. At least until Windows 12 comes out. Okay. Possible bug. Hide UI when serious business is active seems to get into states if the UI is visible when it shouldn't be. Let's see if we can do something about that. Because again, I like to fix bugs if I can, even if they're not directly related to the thing I know about. Melodic interlude shortcuts. Yep, we already saw it. Once an anthem is detected. Yeah. This is an internal, nice to have feature. It's just not going to matter for our purposes. It's not a bug or a feature. It's just making our life easier. Okay. Yes. Let's go ahead and hoist this one up. This is specifically Minstrel 3.0. And we're currently using the cooldown time of anthems, which is by default 25 seconds. But if you have 25 seconds left, well, 25 and a half seconds left, and you do an anthem, the amount of delay there is in the animation between when you start the anthem and when the cooldown starts means that you don't actually have enough time to cycle back around. You don't have that 25 seconds anymore. So we want to have a little buffer in our calculation, and that's going to require a little bit of effort to make sure each of those places takes it into account. Okay, this is code. Don't need that. Once upon a time, the text overlay was not working, and then it was working. I wasn't sure about that. Actually, let's go visit a training dummy. I like being up here, but we're going to go to a kinship member's house. There's a training dummy in that neighborhood, and we'll be able to check our anthems that way. It's going to take me a while to overcome the muscle memory of being able to do anthems at any time, which we've been able to do for years and years, basically as long as I've been playing, and much longer than that. Anthems have just been you need a certain number of ballads, and with Cry of the Chorus, or improved Cry of the Chorus, you always had that available to you, whether or not you were in combat. And then Minstrel 3s came, and now I'm going to have to unlearn all of those little instincts. Alright, let's go ahead and pop up a training dummy. So one thing I was noticing was that the overlay that we had put in to say whether something was lesser or greater or not wasn't working. It wasn't showing up. And I thought that was strange. So I thought I would see if I could replicate it. Whoopsie. Oh, right. This is another thing. It's kind of a bug. But the plugin kind of tosses away information about what anthems there are when it changes the background. And that feels like a thing that should be fixed. Okay. So that overlay is there. We'll just go ahead and leave that for later. It's inconsistent. Okay. Updating the background to include a space for the anthem feels really important. This anthem just sitting here just feels strange. Oh, that's weird. Okay. So there's definitely still when you change themes, something weird is going on aspect to this. And I think it's definitely part of that throw the information away and start over. But it doesn't do it in a consistent way. As we saw, when we load the anthem... Just a moment. There's a cooking question happening near me. Okay. I have tried to give the secret of making rice over to Little Redhead. We'll see how it goes.
Altitude rice is not the same.
That's right. Little Redhead has grown up making rice happen at a mile above sea level. And here in the Netherlands, we are many things, but we are not a mile above the sea level. We are maybe 20 meters above sea level here. It's very exciting. Okay. So, there's no space for this. Okay, yeah. So, theme. I think this... Margot Twitch says, my secret is a rice maker. Absolutely. If you're going to have a unitasker appliance in the kitchen, I think a rice maker is a really good choice. It's kind of takes up a fair amount of space, and you're never really going to tuck it away into a cupboard. But most of them are pretty sleek and stylish, and got that curvy shape to them. It's very satisfying. But yeah, we have not invested in such a thing. When we moved to the Netherlands, we kind of started over on kitchen stuff. And so it was just like, well, I could get one of those, or I could just put, a thing of rice in, a thing of water in, and let it go for however long, and it's fine, right? Like, a rice maker might do better, but this is fine. You say it's no unit task, or you use it for way more than rice. Okay, I'm curious what else you... Okay, you're already ahead of me. Risotto, soups, stews, and you can even do cake. Fair enough. Can't argue with that. I wouldn't have thought about risotto in there. Now, when you're making a risotto in there, are you stirring like constantly while you're doing it, or are you just setting it and forgetting it? Okay. What else do we have here? Yes, we need some options. Add option to include. Oh, no, that's a bigger thing. But I do want add option to enable, disable, lesser, greater, lesser plus greater overlay, and add option to enable, disable, priority anthem queue. Huh. You do not have to stir it constantly, and it comes out restaurant quality. I mean, hard to argue with that. I hear risotto is pretty good, and I hear the standard method of cooking is kind of intensive. Although, I've also seen some of those self-stirring whiskey type things. Like, it's a whisk, but it's got a little vibrating motor in it, so it just sort of moves around your pan and helps things not get scorched, and might help with risotto, I don't know. That's still... Using a rice maker for risotto is a previously unknown to me use, and that's pretty awesome. Okay. What else did we have in here? Building finish. Theme files. That's a nice to have. Okay, don't care about that. That's a nice to have. We don't really need that. Change theme list to a drop-down to save space. That was an excellent idea by Farathan. I think I'm going to not worry about that right now. It's a bigger change, and we're just looking for what bugs do we have and what little things do we have that would be a part of this release. So I like this idea, Farathan, but I think it's going to wait until the next time. Change variable names. Actually, we did that. But I think there are some outstanding variable names that don't follow this trend. So I'm going to leave that right now. I am, as Little Redhead says, I am the rice maker. But I do not equally make risotto or cakes, so. Let's see. Need to detect if an anthem becomes available due to trait point spend. Awesome. We did that. Also, we had a note in here. So I want to say done. Buff window and the soliloquy tracker window should tell main when they do or don't care about chat. That is true, and I think it is happening. But as a part of that option to enable or disable the priority anthem queue, buff window will start possibly not caring. If buff window has disabled, if we've disabled the priority anthem queue, then buff window does not care about chat either. And so eventually we might get into that state where main is not paying attention to chat because neither buff window nor soliloquy tracker window care. Okay. Need a button in the options to rescan, I think is what I was trying to say. Need a button in the options to rescan trained anthems. You know, I thought about that, but we're actually getting really good about detecting that we do need to rescan. This was when we were changing stances or trait tree stances, I should say, and that wasn't getting detected. So I think that's actually done. Melody versus not melody. Yeah, we do not care about changing stances for that, but we do recheck anthems. Let's see. Oh, Little Red Head in chat says, so I have a crockpot/pressure cooker. Does it work like your rice maker? And Morgan says, not exactly. A fuzzy logic rice cooker works differently. However, you can also use a pressure cooker, like an Instant Pot, to make grains and pastas. Neat. Oh, and I think I saw a rumor that Agent Brinkman, who has done some LOTRO cooking streams, taking recipes from the game and trying to enact them in real life, is going to be coming back and doing some more of those streams. And that's very exciting. I think she's a much better cook in general than I am, but I really like to see some of those in-game things. Yeah. What do we have in us? Like superior mustard green peas. Okay, I could probably be without her making that. But the lamb and carrot soup? Yeah, sure, let's do it. Let's see. I'm not seeing stand change call reliably when changing trait trees. Fixed. Use an answer chat instead. We did that. And then we do go ahead and pause parsing chat for 20 seconds when we see that. So awesome. Just nice to be able to clean up our to-do with things we actually did. Hooray! And that's a thought for later, but not right now. Okay. I think that'll have to be good enough. So obviously there's things to do before I want to ship. In fact, let's go ahead and demarcate this a little bit better with another line. And that's it. If that list goes to 0, then we are done. So let's go ahead and come on into our source control utility. And let's go ahead and commit these changes here. So to do file changes. And there we go. We've got a clean working directory. Okay. Yeah, that looks like a to-do and not a header. There we go. Okay, so when changing themes, scaling is not recalculated. So one theme's 2x. Let's go ahead and wrap that. So one theme's 2x is another theme's 1.3. This feels like it should be solvable. And it's helpful when we see a bug like this to kind of take a step back and say, why are we seeing this bug? And for that, let's go ahead and come into the save file for Minstrel Buff. So I'm going to open up, let's see. Yeah, sorry. I'm going to go ahead and open up a text editor. This is Sublime Text. You can use whatever you want. I recommend against something like Notepad. There are better, more modern tools, but you know, you do you. So we come into Documents, Lord of the Rings Online. Let's go into Plugin Data, and we're going to go into Account, Server, Character, and then we have the Minstrel Buff plugin. So if we pop that open, we're going to see a specific thing, the main window width. And this main window width is currently 0.46875. That is being stored as a fraction of the entire width, which means it thinks, no. Does it really think that is? Oh, because of the extra space here. Yes. Okay, that makes sense. Because of the extra space that we're using for this anthem, yeah, we probably are about almost half the width of the window. All right. Now I've got me curious about what's going on in here. Oh, actually, we don't need to do that. And Visual Studio Code has the ability to look at these things. So let's come on into the themes, resources. Resources, themes, one window, and we can go ahead and pop open this. Yes, okay, I see. So back in the day, not too long ago, minstrels could have more than 4 anthems active. And this was actually a thing that we spent effort on in recent memory, supporting a minstrel having up to 6 anthems. And so if you only had the 3 anthems, it would look like this. And as soon as you got a 4th anthem, we'd automatically expand to support it. And then a 5th and then a 6th. And then they went and changed it so that you could never have more than 4 anthems because there just weren't more than 4 anthems. Not more than 4 anthem effects that you could have. Well, effectively, you can have 1 anthem effect for your 1s, your 2s, and your 3s, and then the anthem of the 3 peoples. And even though there are 3 different anthem effects for each of 1, 2, and 3, you're only ever going to see 1 of them at a time, 0 or 1 of them at a time. So in effect, you're only ever going to have up to 4 anthem effects at a time. Cool. All that work gone. But it means, oh, Give Me Tomato says your deed tracker doesn't work. Well, that's not good to hear. So deed tracker is a plugin available over on the LOTRO interface page. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Deed tracker.
Maybe define doesn't work.
Yeah, so when you say your deed tracker doesn't work, are you talking about the deed tracker plugin? And if so, what are you seeing that doesn't work? Are you unable to load it? Are you unable to do something? Do you get an error message? There's all sorts of different ways in which this cannot work. We would try to limit it. Can't load it. Okay, when you say you can't load it, what it sounds like is you go to deed tracker and you press load and you get an error message, and this thing does not turn light color. You don't see it. Do you see the color of the line change color? So for instance, deed tracker, the background went from a dark blue for me to a light gray color. Deed tracker by itself, when you first load it, the only thing you get is this little icon in the middle, and it's very easy to overlook, especially if you happen to have like a brown background or something, like a tree. And so if this color changes, you go from a dark blue to a light gray, for instance, then check around for something like this, or just type /deed. And even if you don't have this little button, you can type /deed, and that will toggle this window back and forth. I'll put that into chat. Chat command. It looks like /deed. And so you can always type that, even if you don't have that little button, and that will show and hide this window. Technically, you can also do deeds, I think. Yeah, or /deed tracker, whatever. We're flexible. But ideally, you can find this little button and just stick it somewhere where you'll remember where it is. Okay, cool, good question. And it calls back exactly to what I was thinking before, is I really feel like at least once per character, maybe once per account, when you load the plugin, that little helper window that that we got from the combat analysis. In fact, you've got me curious. Oh, if it's not in the plugin manager after you download it, if the game is running, make sure you press this little green circle, this little refresh button. Make sure you press that, otherwise it won't show up on the list until you log out and log back in. So once it shows up in plugins, cube plugins, deed tracker, it should be seeable by the game. Okay, let's go into plugin data. If we go to all characters, no, Affidil, combat analysis, okay. So in the combat analysis save file, we have, let's see, hint, help. Well, somewhere in here, it show tooltips. It might be show tooltips. Let's see what they called it. Load options. Okay. Well, I'm not sure how it's controlling that. Oh, wow. There's a lot of options here. Oh, I like this tabbed UI. It's a little confusing, but... This thing. So this little helper window, this is exactly why I wanted to bring it in, because when you first load the plugin, it's a little like, what are you talking about? What's going on? Okay, you said it's not in the plugin after I download it. So make sure, give me tomatoes, that after you hit the download button, if you have a zip file in your downloads, you do need to extract those files and move them into the Lord of the Rings Online plugins folder in your documents. You need to see Lord of the Rings Online, plugins, Cube plugins, deed tracker, for instance, for the deed tracker. So we'll say that this. Do you see this folder? Question mark. Cool. Okay. So yes, I like the idea of that sort of, hey, what's up? You've never run this before, as far as we can tell. Here's some basic information. Okay. So yes, now that we've refreshed our memory, yes, the full screen, the full image here is actually. Can we even tell? Perhaps not. Let's open it. Oops. Let's open it up in the GNU image manipulation program, or GIMP for short, and we'll go ahead and check it out there. So, if we go ahead and open, we go to Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins. We're going to Cube Plugins, Minstrel Buff 2. We're going into Resources, Themes, Window, 6. Okay, and then from here, we have the size. We can see the width. Really? Just 300? Sure, seems like it was bigger. Sure, it's 300. Let's take a look at that. Oh, of course, because I've got it scaled up. So, let's refresh our memory on how this whole thing works, is what we're doing. Okay, so if we go ahead and do a quick screenshot, we're just going to do a window snip of this. Uh-oh. Here I am accidentally minimizing every window on my screen. That's undesirable. The Windows D shortcut can be a little overkill. Okay. So if we come on in here, we can get a sense of how big is this thing. Cool, cool, cool. It's like maybe that big. And we can see, yeah, 800 pixels wide, give or take. More to the point, we know that the window is 1920 wide. So we can come on in here and say, cool, what is 1920 times 0.46875? And the answer is 900 pixels. So are we at times 3 then? We are at times 3. Excellent. All the math works. I just got to remember what's going on here. So the default size is 300 pixels wide. We have said we want it to be 3 times that, so it should be 900 pixels wide, but that is being stored as a percentage. And that's being stored as a percentage because if someone loads this up on a screen that is 1,000 pixels wide, we don't want it to be 900 pixels wide. We want it to be a proportional size to that. But this scaling is per theme, and each theme has a different width. Oh, well, Gimme Tomato says, thank you very much. I hope that was helpful. Let me know how that goes for you. So each theme has a different width, and because each theme has a different width, we should be recalculating that number, and we're not. And so what we want to do is we want to save off that main window width, or rather you say, work, sorry for bothering me. It's no bother. This is plugging along. It's all about LOTRO plugins, and sometimes we're writing code, and sometimes we're helping people get their plugins working, or figuring out how a plugin works even. Okay, so let's go ahead and hear that the rice is finished. That's very exciting. Okay. Okay, so let's come on in to where we care about this main window width setting. I'm just going to do a global search here, and we can see we have it in a couple of places. We have it in language files. I'm not too worried about those language files right now. And then we have in the settings, main window is stored as a percentage of the screen width. Yes, it is. And this is when we're first loading up the file. Awesome. And then buff window, when we do a redraw, we are figuring out how wide we should be based off of this. Awesome. What about the options window? Let's see, main window proportional width, great. Oh yes, that's for loading and setting that, awesome. So I think if we're going to change themes, we really want to do something similar. So we need to backtrack this, and so we want to know what's the default width of the current theme. All right. In fact, let me make some notes here. When changing a theme, determine, load default width of current theme, load we're only caring about the stretch window width. Okay. So we have the default width of the current theme. Do we care about that? Yes, because we're trying to convert this into an actual percentage growth. So load current width, stretched width, I guess. Stretched width of current theme. Determine percentage increase / decrease, and that's going to be stretched width divided by default width. And then, so that is going to tell us what the stretched pixels should be. Get new theme, determine new theme stretched pixels, and that's going to be the percent increase / decrease or decrease times the new theme width. No, I guess we're going to need to load the new theme default width. New theme default width. And that will give us our stretched, that is our new main window width. So new theme stretched, so we have our main window width equals new theme stretched divided by screen width in pixels. Okay, and that's what lets us save the... And all of this cycles back to the problem of I have stretched this thing, or maybe I haven't, but this thing takes 500 pixels on this monitor. So about 1/4 of the screen, and then I go to this other screen that has half the width on it. I want the thing to look like it is half the width. I don't want to just suddenly take up the entire screen. And if we do take up the entire screen and they go in and they manually shrink it back down and bring it over to the bigger monitor, I don't want them to be microscopic. And so it's a lot of work around just having a flat number of pixels. But in this day and age, with more and more people bipping between 1K and 2K and 4K monitors, being able to react reasonably for someone using different size monitor, or even if they have it in window mode and they make the window smaller, being able to say, well, I guess I should be smaller. And that's an eventual goal for this plugin as well. If someone makes the screen half as big because they just redrawn the window, let's go ahead and do the same for us. Let's make us proportionally smaller. Okay, but this is what should be, I think, happening. When we're changing themes, we need to get those default widths and stretched widths of the current theme so we can determine how much, what that X times was. And that's what we're doing over here in these options window. Maybe we should pay more attention to that. So we get that proportional width. So we get the actual width. So we get the actual width by multiplying the screen width by the proportional, which that's the actual pixels wide. And then we can get the percentage by dividing it out. Okay, awesome. I almost feel like we should steal this logic. C option window dot starting on line 231. Great. Oh, let me slide that out from behind my face. Awesome. So this is all happening in the options window. So we're in the right place. So what we want is this theme list, the self.listbox has a selected item change, and that gives us the theme changed callback. And so that is calling self.settings set theme index, and that seems like a place we could care about. Let's pop on in here to the settings. Okay. Sleepy in chat. Maybe you can help me with the game. Been trying to install it today, but it's not working. I tried Steam 3 times. LOTRO says it's not working. It says loading, configuring something, and the website crashes when you click download. My goodness. I have not tried installing Lord of the Rings Online through Steam. I hear it is possible to do, and many people do. I haven't tried it myself. But if we go to LOTRO.com, and play for free. Let me download. That's so funny. It's been a while since I've had to download this. Yours crashes when you go to this page? That's very strange. Well, as I asked Gimme Tomatoes earlier, when's the last time you've rebooted your machine or closed all of your browser windows so it could do an update? Because, I mean, it's certainly possible for this to crash, but, I mean, as we can see, it can be reached, at least if you're in the Netherlands. You used 4 browsers. That is so weird. Oh, download the game. Haha. So if I click this little link to the left of Play Free, already have an account, download the game. We come on here, get started, click a button. PC download. Bam. We can see it's a 44 meg file. It's downloading. Here, let me just copy this and paste. Give this link a try. You're in Germany at the moment. Oh, welcome. Then you might prefer the DE locale DE. Sorry, you might prefer this instead. Maybe because you're in Germany. I don't think it's because you're in Germany. But you can, if I go ahead and download this, it's probably just going to be the same file. Here, let me cancel this. Yep, it's the same file. No, I don't think it's because you're in Germany. I was kind of joking. A lot of the LOTRO servers are based in the East Coast United States. And so some people in Europe think, oh no, it's so far away from us. But my ping to the server is always pretty good. Let's see. I have a 113 millisecond latency. That seems fine. But no, it is not having any trouble for me to go to this page or to download the installer. So if you haven't, rebooted your machine in a couple of days, maybe give that a try. It does seem to be more of a your machine thing than a global thing at the moment. Not to say that there couldn't be legitimate problems, but I am able to download the installer. And German is a supported language, of course, of Lord of the Rings Online. I hear, sometimes the localizations have some work to be done on them, but you can always launch the client in German. Nope, I'm good. Let's see. Oh, I got through. Sorry about that. Oh, you were asking about that. Yeah, signup.lotro.com is what Agartha was asking about. So you could always try that if you don't have an account. Yeah, that's weird, Agartha. You had a double https://https://. I bet Moobot didn't like that. But yeah, the actual download page, there in English or German, give both of them a try. Maybe the German one works while the English one doesn't. It's the same client either way. You'll be able to play in English or German or French, if you like, from the same client. It's all one file. Give it a try. See if you can make it work on your end. But it's definitely working in general right now. Yeah. I appreciate how many Germans speak fluent enough English where they can just play on the English client and it doesn't even matter. But that's not for everyone, We're here in the Netherlands, and in general, many Dutch people speak tremendously good English, way better than my Dutch. And there are plenty of people also who just don't feel comfortable in English. They live in the Netherlands, they talk to Dutch people, they shop at Dutch stores, and they don't get a lot of practice. It's a lot like in America, where sometimes we'll learn a foreign language for a couple of years in high school, and then what, right? And you go about your life in the U.S., and unless you really work at it, you just forget it all. If you live in Germany but you're not native German, all right. Cool, you've got choices. You could use Lord of the Rings Online to practice your German then. Good luck playing the game without knowing the language. Ha ha. Actually, I would pay real money, though not a lot, if Lord of the Rings Online came in Dutch, because I think it would be great practice for learning Dutch. But I wouldn't pay nearly as much as it would take for them to translate the game into Dutch. So, oh well. Okay, well, give it a try. Give the Dutch localized version of it a try. Hopefully you're able to at least get the file downloaded. Although, hang on a sec. What was the actual link to the file? Here. The LOTRO install file. You could also try just clicking that link, files.lotro.com/lotro/installers/lotrolive.exe. Agartha points out it's possible someone is blocking your access to the site. Are you trying to do it on a work machine? Because they might have your number. But there could be a proxy or an ad blocker or something suggests Agartha. We've definitely seen some people having to be creative to install this on a work-controlled machine. I'm not going to pass judgment of whether that's a good idea or not, but it shows that there are people out there. So yes, also give that specific link a try. You can just bypass the website completely and just go straight for the installation. Give Me Tomatoes says, what plugins do you use? Well, I'm going to start with the exclamation point plugins command. These are plugins that a variety of streamers here on the LOTRO stream channel use. But specifically, I use dTracker a lot. I use the Minstrel Buff plugin a lot because I primarily play Minstrels. Sleepy, I see your chat. I think it was a little too exciting for Moobot, but give it a try. I'd love to hear back and hear that you were successful on it. But I appreciate the enthusiasm. The game is rated T for teen, I believe, and they do try to keep the chat in the official stream of a similar rating. Okay, so what else, especially in that list? So if you are anyone who has a lot of travel skills, and even as a level 65 minstrel, I do have a lot of travel skills. You can buy it returned to Lalia's Market for a couple of Mythor coins. Highly recommended. If you have a personal house, and if you're a member of a kinship, you're going to have travel to personal house. You're going to have travel to kinship house and kinship member's house. And then just from reputation, you can get Ostgurth and the Shires are racial one, but Trestlebridge and Thornsgate and Trader's Wharf and Thornhead and Nobottle and Mirkwood. So those are all available to me at level 65, even as a minstrel. And so Travel Window 2 is a great plugin for collecting that together in a single window. And if you are a hunter or a warden, I think, and have guide to or mustering skills, it is just tremendously great. That being said, if you're uncertain about that, you can always use the skills window search bar. And let's say I'm trying to go to an Ost. I can't remember what it is. Ost something. Then, I have a milestone to Ostgalad. I have a travel skill to Ostgurth. Cool, it's probably one of those things. And that's, you're a hunter. Yeah. So if you're with those hunter skills that guide you all over the place, especially as you get to higher level, Travel Window 2 is great. Definitely recommended. And so if you're using the LOTRO plugin compendium, you would just come in here, you would type Travel Window 2. Go ahead and add that, and it's installed. We come back in here, we do a refresh, and that's the Travel Window 2. And instead of having to look in my skills window, now I just have this little window here. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. And here's all my travel skills. I have a bunch of milestone skills, and then all my other skills as well. I rather would be surprised if I didn't use the D tracker a lot. I know, right? What else from here is great? Daily tasks was tremendously useful. It's gotten a little less so as the game itself has gotten better with its tooltips. Buff bars. A lot of people use buff bars. I use Buff Monitor instead. It works better for the way I look at the world. But both of them can be very useful if you like that sort of thing. There's just so many. It's a really tough question to ask, which is why there's only a dozen or so in that little chat command, because it really depends on what type of player are you, what class are you, all these things. For instance, there is a plugin called Warden Ease. And this is a plugin that seems incredibly useful if you're a warden, and has absolutely no use if you're not, right? And so it's just like the Minstrel Buff plugin, right? It's just not that useful if you're not a minstrel. Or don't play one regularly. And so the Warden Ease plugin looks tremendously useful for remembering all your gambits and to queue up a gambit so you can focus on other things than trying to remember how does this gambit go, right? Oh, is it spear, shield, punch, or what? I don't know. I don't play enough of a warden to have that down. So yeah, part of knowing what plugins are good for you is deciding how do you knowing what's out there, but then how can these enhance your playstyle? So for instance, if you're someone with diminished visual acuity for whatever reason, you might find it useful to be able to put an opaque window behind your quest tracker area so you can read those summaries more easily. And so that is a thing that some people like to have. It mimics how you can change the opacity of the chat window. Titan bar. Titan bar is a really commonly used one. Let's go ahead and add that in. We come back into the plugin compendium. That is Titan bar. Oh yes, the mouse finder plugin. Hang on, I'll get that one too. So we'll add in Titan bar and then mouse finder. Awesome. And you can see how easy it is to do this through the LOTRO plugin compendium. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this back in. I already had it open. Okay. So we'll refresh with the green arrow. And we're going to come into the mouse finder first of all. When in combat, this plugin draws a big circle around your cursor so you can find it easily. Fortunately, I'm at a stage in my life where I can find that mouse cursor pretty easily most of the time. But I know there's plenty of people who have issues with that. And so it's really great that there's just a plugin that, oh no, attempt to perform arithmetic thorough lore. Well, let's see what's wrong with that. So we can see we were getting an error message. So we're going to come on in and open up that file. So Lord of the Rings Online, plugins, Thorolore, mouse finder, and main line 85. What's up with that? All right, set position on field width a nil value, self.width. I don't know, works now. Wow, that is noticeable. Okay, so we can see the size can be controlled, so maybe you just want it to be a little bit bigger. And I'm not in combat anymore. No, what's up? Okay, there it is. Cool. So rotation speed, you can make it rotate faster, you can make it rotate slower. Nice. Oh, time to persist when movement. Oh, I see. So if you stop moving for a little while. Interesting. So fascinating. Yeah, that's really cool. Show only when combat. Okay, you can turn that off. I saw someone streaming the other day with that, and or maybe a different one. I think there's a couple different options. Oh, you can change color. Cool. Yeah, it might have been Winnie who was doing that. I was thinking more like blue. Okay. And then the size of it. Yes. Awesome. I guess the only thing I'm missing is like a thickness of it, but you know what? It's cool. That's awesome. I love accessibility aids. Awesome. Thanks for pointing that out, Egg Arthur. So Titan bar. Titan bar is a way of organizing information. I think there was originally a Titan bar for World of Warcraft. I don't know if there was one for a game before that. But Titan bar, it sits across the top of your screen. Takes a moment to load up. And then by default, it hides. But we want to go ahead and, I don't know, not do that. Oh my goodness, it's been so long since I have... Auto hide disabled. There we go. Been so long since I've had to customize this thing. I just have a save file normally. So Titan bar can show you all sorts of information. So it can show you how much money you have, and if you have logged in with Titan bar active on all your characters, it'll show you money across all of your characters and in your shared storage. It can show you how much, roughly how much durability you have. It can give you shortcuts for information. For instance, reputation. Let's see. Reputation. Yes. So, as a quick little way, let's say, for instance, I had 5,000 reputation with the Minstrels. I can type that in, and then from then on, Titan bar is going to track my increases and decreases with the Minstrels in a really easy to find place. So I just hover over this. Cool, okay. Instead of having to go into my character screen and go into reputation or rebind reputation to be one of these buttons down here, And the reputation screen gets really long as you get more and more reputations. I would love a hide max reputation button in this screen, actually, because, once I've gotten to Kindred with a great company, it's not that I've stopped caring about them. I just stopped caring about, numbers with them. They're still great people. And so you can kind of make one of those by just putting a reputation up on Titan Bar, and just the 4 or 5 that you're interested in right now, those are the ones you see. And so, what else do we have? One of the things I really like is being able to see both the server time and 24-hour time, show the real time also. Let's see, show real time and server time. Cool. And so, let's see, server time is -5 GMT, I believe. So we can see Easter time. I think it is that right? What is it? 9 -6 is 3. Nope. Sure, we'll go ahead and do that. This isn't quite right, but that's okay. Yeah, so I can see both what the server time is, or the Eastern U.S. time, and what time it is here locally here in the Netherlands. That's nice. All sorts of little things like that. Actually, one of the things I really like is the day and night time. So we can see right now it's late watches and it's 5 minutes before forenoon. You already have this information if you hover over the moon symbol or the sun symbol on your radar. You know that it's nighttime late watches, but it doesn't tell you how long it is until the next thing. And so I find that very helpful, especially for those quests that require nighttime or daytime. It's nice to be able to know how far are we through midday, for instance. Oh, you live in Eastern time. Nice. Yes. So you are aligned with the server time. Then, yeah, so that's Titan Bar. It's a way to summarize a lot of information in one place up there. You can also track wallet information. So that's a thing we do actually quite a lot, is if I wanted to track my, what did we just have? Fall Festival tokens. We can go ahead and track those on the Titan Bar. And so I can just have that as an easy reference point up here. Oh, cool, I've got 611 of those. Yay! So I don't have to keep going to my wallet and typing Fall Festival and see, okay, that's how many I have. But you can track multiples at a time. So if you also want to know about festivity tokens, I haven't added those yet, but eventually I will. And if you also wanted to know about, I don't know, anniversary tokens, we'll go ahead and show those. And we can say I only have 31 of those. And also spring leaves. We can go ahead and show those. Now, I don't know why you would have these there, but marks and medallions, I've definitely seen people who have more of those than I do. Let's go ahead and get mark and medallion going here. Let's see, on Titan Bar, great. Cool. Whoops, that's the wrong one. So that's a common use in our household for Titan Bar, is getting currencies up here so you can tell at a glance how many of these things do I have. Yes, so this bar at the top, this is all Titan Bar. And Titan Bar has all these different things that you can choose to show up there. So, yeah, that's Titan Bar. There's a lot of customizability there. Cool. Well, awesome. All right, I'm going to close down some of these extra windows that we've popped up. Okay, so we were talking about adjusting this main window width whenever we change themes. Awesome. So first of all, we don't need to care about doing anything if the theme that we're changing to is the same as our own theme. If we've got clicked on us on the same theme, do nothing. But then, and we need to do something with this value before we change it. So we can go ahead and save that off. Local old theme index equals that. Do we care about the old theme index? I don't know if we actually care about that, but we might. What we actually care about are the old version of the setting. So we can go ahead and save that off. Main window proportional width equals this, and we even have our example. We can go ahead and I'm just going to crib from myself. So the main window actual width, we have the proportional width times the screen width. Now we need the screen width here. Screen width was coming from, let's see, screen width, turbine.ui.display.getWidth. So we're just going to hoist that on out. I don't even think we'll need that old theme index, but we'll keep that in our back pocket in case we need it. Okay, so the main window actual width, we got the proportional width times the screen width, and now we have a thing. Okay. Now we need to, we want an actual percentage of this. So the local main window default width, awesome. And then the scaled width. So there we go. We know that if the main window actual width is 50 and the original, the default was 100, we're scaled to 50%, that's what we want. Ghost Dealer in chat says, loved using Titan Bar add-on in WoW, glad to see it's here. Yeah, that was one of those things when I first got back into Lord of the Rings Online a few years ago, was I had played World of Warcraft way in my distant past. And so when I saw Titan Bar, I was like, oh, that is a name that is kind of familiar to me. Cool. Now, Lord of the Rings Online and World of Warcraft both use Lua for their plugins. And so in that sense, if you ever wrote plugins in World of Warcraft, you have kind of a leg up when you're writing plugins in Lord of the Rings Online. But that being said, the big thing is how do you interact with the game? What's the API like? And in that sense, there's definitely a new world to learn when you're talking about Lord of the Rings Online. What things can you do? What things can't you do? Okay, so we have the scaled width. This is the thing that we wanted in our what are we doing? So we have our scaled width. Now we can get the new theme. Let's see. But the only thing we really need from that, we have the index. And so we can peek ahead and update the settings first. Oh, Giving Tomatoes asks, is more map only for more? No, that's a very old name for it. Let's go ahead and get that installed. Okay, so go ahead and refresh. We have a more map. Let's go ahead and load more map. Okay. Enable terrain map compatibility. It will allow custom annotations to be shared between more map and terrain map. Okay, that sounds great. Let's do it. That is hilarious, Garen. That is fantastic. Okay, so we have more map loaded. Now, plugins do not get to know when you are pressing M to bring up your map. And so you have this little map icon in the upper left. If you hold down Shift, you can move it to wherever you want to. And then when you click it, you'll bring up more map. And so it's not going to come in when you press M. You do have to remember to click that button or bind a shortcut to it, that kind of thing. And so I'm guessing it doesn't actually know where I am right now. And let's see what kind of options we have for more map. More map options. None. Oh, fair enough. Let's see. So options in here. World. Well, we're not on Landerval. Do you know about Treebeard? Oh my goodness. I don't know if it knows about Treebeard. Oh well, that's okay. Open the most recent. Lovely. But the width and the height of the map. I'm a big fan of maybe not covering up the whole screen. So what if we do 1024 by 768? Another classic one, save. Okay. And now you can just click and drag this thing around. And that's very handy compared to the in-game map where it's just like, oh, nope, unless you have installed a skin. So something people like to be able to do is to put pins onto the map. I believe you can do that with more map. Let's see. So we can go ahead and add an annotation. So let's say I just really love Gondamon. I mean, and fair enough, it's great. So I want to add an annotation saying, annotation, type, point of interest, name. It's great. I heart Gondamon. Save. So there's now a point of interest here. If I hover over it, we can see it's great because it is. It's Gondamon. And we also get the coordinates, 20 south, 98.2 west. So if you wanted to annotate where you found platinum, for instance, or if you wanted to annotate where you found a rare spawn, you can go ahead and add these things in. I think you can also control what things are being shown on the map, just like the normal one. There's all sorts of cool stuff. I have used this almost not at all, so I am not a more map expert. I'm just aware that a lot of people really like it. Let's see. Ooh, there's a map of Sarnar. Nice. That is classy. Okay. Thorns Hall Residence. Nice. Okay. Yonder Shire's in there. Awesome. Thanks for updating that. Oh, it's nice old maps. I like it. We got the new map for Bree. I personally have a lot of, I guess, nostalgia for this style of map in-game. I appreciate that this one is maybe higher fidelity to the landscape, but I appreciate that this is the kind of map you would get if you said, hey, go out into the wilderness and write down what you see and come back, and a year later you get something that looks like this. And it's like, close enough. Right? Like, you don't have low-flying aircraft to give you this kind of a map in Middle-earth. So I appreciate the more sketchy, more like, well, someone went there 100 years ago. How much could it have changed style map that we started the game with? Although, this is heaps more fleshed out than like the original versions of the maps. One of the things I really like on the wiki is being able to go back in history. So if we go to lotrowiki.com, and just step back in history through the various Breeland maps, for instance. Breeland. So at the bottom here, we've got a map. And cool, if we come in here, click on that map, come back through history, and we can see that historical Breeland map. What was the one I was thinking of, though, that got really, really sparse? It was Forakel. Oh, yes. North Downs. That's the kind of map where someone comes back after 6 months and is like, I don't know, there's some mountains. I'm not sure North Downs was available when the game first launched, right? Like, maybe it was. But that kind of thing. And then you start fleshing it out. Awesome. But yeah, it was a big difference between March and May there. And then, what was it? Forakel. Yeah. Let's see. That's not too different, actually. Oh, well. Or maybe it was just the Eriador map. It was the Eriador map. That's what I'm thinking of. It has gone through a lot of revisions. So this was the first Eriador map, which I find charming in a way. Like, it's definitely pretty low resolution. But that was it. That was like the known world, and this feels like a thing that would be hanging in a hobbit hole. In fact, I think it is hanging in hobbit holes. I think if you wander around like the Shire and poke into holes, you'll see something like this. Let's see. And so you can see the evolution of it after a little while. That one's wild. I don't know when that one came in. But it really fleshes it out, right? It's a lot more fantastic. And then we get this evolution of it. And, yeah, it's fine. I for me, I find this, even in the abstract, even though it's a little bit, not as true to life, you can still see the Great North Road there. You can still see there's details in there that I really like. Even if it's not like geographically to scale and maybe the same way that this one is. But I think that is the thing that you can do in More Map is you can go back in and substitute the versions of maps that you want if you know what you're doing and grovel into the details. I suspect you could plop this one back in for Eriador. Anyway, maps are great. I appreciate all the options we've been given over time. But yeah, this one is just a little low effort. not low effort for the people who made it, but like you can envision this is the Hobbit's vision of the world. Yeah, hear about Breland? It's got a big road. Anything else? No? I mean, there's a town. I don't know. Okay. A lot of farms? Okay, well, put in some wheat wheels, and we're done. But, the distinguishing feature of Lonelands, Weathertop. Anything else? No. There's a road. Anyway. Yeah. Life has changed over the last 11 years in the game. Cool. Okay. So we have just cribbed the math to get this scaled with. We know the new theme index that we're going to be using, and we can kind of peek ahead. So in the themes file, we have the theme list with an index. So we can go ahead and say theme list value. We want to get access to something in there. So what is that going to look like? If we come on in here, that's going to equal, for instance, theme window 1. These are Minstrel Buff themes. So we can pop that open. That's going to be theme window as an example. And the thing that we're interested in is the window width. So we can say local new theme width, default width, equals this. Maybe. Let's see if the IntelliSense catches up with us here. Yeah, there we go. And so we know the local new theme scaled width equals, well, that's proportional width. That's not the name of what we want either. New theme, we'll go ahead with stretched width equals, and we can use this default width times the scaled width, and then we can get our proportional width. So the local new theme proportional width equals, and here's where we get that stretched width divided by screen width. And all of that to say that we can say self probably set setting. And we're going to go ahead and set main window width to be this new theme proportional width. Holy moly. So, because we're storing the width of a theme as a proportion of the overall width of the window, and because each theme has potentially a different width, what we're trying to do is backtrack to say, given the stretched width that is a proportion of the overall screen width, what kind of a percentage increase decrease are we talking about, and can we persist that onto the new theme? And if we can do it before we get around to updating the theme, we should be good to go. So, I don't know. Is that enough? Will that work? Let's find out. So we're going to go ahead and say goodbye to More Map for a little while. Great question. Give me tomatoes. Hopefully that was a reasonable answer. And we're going to come back to Minstrel Buff, load that on up, and let's go ahead and dial this back to 2 times. And then what we want to see is switching to the fixed anthems. Well, we got an error message, so nothing happened, but it looks like it worked, and that's the important thing. let's pop on in. We saw an error message in settings.lua326. That's right where we're working. All right, so attempt to index global theme list a nil value. I was afraid of that. That's what we need. We need to fully reference it. Lua namespaces are a thing that I don't have like really internalized, and so like I recognize the use of them. It's great, and so we're referencing a global that's not in the same level of namespace as we are, and so instead we're in Q plugins. It's me, Minstrel Buff 2 themes, and then on a theme list. And so we're fully referencing that. It's possible because we're already in Q plugins Minstrel Buff 2 that we could get away with themes.theme list. Maybe. But we're going to go ahead and come back in and go ahead and try again. Yes! Oh, it feels so good. So we can see that the scaling is working. This window that was supposed to be basically the same size is staying in the same place, and the scaling is fixing. Oh my goodness, that is so good. I love it when code actually works the first time. Okay, so we can see that fixed location for the Priority Anthem is going to be a problem. No, hey. Moobot has talked about pre-purchasing for Before the Shadows, the next expansion, which is set to launch next week, Tuesday. Fingers crossed, all else being equal. Last week, the SSG team announced that due to delays caused by physically moving buildings, they had to delay the release of Before the Shadow by a week. So hopefully that was enough time to get them sorted. Given Tomato says, I did pre-purchase it. You are ahead of us then, because we keep being like, we should buy that, and we keep on not doing it. So I'm actually not 100% sure which server I would like the ahead of time goodies to go to. And so that is a problem. I'm tending towards Treebeard. It's where I spend most of my time. But I feel like there is a lot of overlap between those things and some things I already have. So we'll see. Okay, so we need to document this so we know what's going on. So we need to say adjust the main window width setting based on the old, just the main window setting. This is needed because themes don't always have the same width. Main width, window width is stored as a proportion between the scaled size and the window size. Okay, so that's at least a little bit of breadcrumb for us. So if we're looking at this in a week, a month, a year, we can be like, what is all of this? Done adjusting the main window width setting. Now, if we're documenting it like this, there's a good question to be had of why is this not in a separate function? Great question, me. Why is this not in a separate function? Excellent question. Probably should be. I thought so too. Okay, so function settings adjust main window width for a new theme, and then we have new theme index. Okay, so at that point we can go ahead and hoist all of this out and just call it self adjust main window width for new theme with the value. And at that point we don't need this done. And we can just make a function block comment here, though probably not the way, the official way, but it's still a nice little comment block ahead of the function. And now we have a function that is doing just the one thing. Okay, so does it look like it'll still work? I think so. Come on in, move stuff around. Nope, there is a problem. Setting is 327. Value. New theme index isn't being used. We can actually see that in the IntelliSense. It is gray, and if we hover over it, unused local. Our tools were trying to tell me that I was going to have a problem. There we go. Lovely. Okay, so that's enough for this to work. Now we can pop back over to our source control tool and say what has changed and was it the right stuff? All right, let's come on in. What's going on with this to-do file? Oh, just set that on 2 lines. Okay, so when changing themes, scaling is not recalculated as one theme's 2x, as another theme's 1.3. Great, done, we think. In the options window, nothing changed. This is just our debug options equals true. So in the settings, this is the new function to do the thing, and here's where we call the function to do the thing. And because we used some, verbose naming, we have a function called adjust main window width for new theme. So we're changing the theme, we're adjusting the window width because of that. Hopefully that's pretty clear to future us what's going on. Awesome, love it. So bug fix. In fact, we're doing a bug fix. We should probably come in here to, I don't know, is there a README file? There's a README file. Awesome. V2.0.2 changes, fixed. I don't know, what? I had to do a really quick patch because I messed something up. Minstrel buff. What did I do? Minstrel buff 2. What was 2.2? Fix some incorrupt paths. There we go. That was it. So let's come on in here. This is going to be 2.0.3 changes. We're going to say bug fix. Changing theme. Now retains the specified scaling. Something like that. I don't know. Naming things is hard. I might have to reword that later, but at least we'll have that in there. So we'll go ahead and make sure the README. And anytime I add a feature or make a bug fix, I like tracking it in something like that README because it makes release notes much easier. The release notes are done at that point, almost. So we'll go ahead and say the bug fix. In fact, I can just kind of pull that. Changing themes now retains the specified scaling. Good enough. Kind of obscure, but bam. Awesome. Well, with all the back and forth with other things, like what's going on with these plugins and how to use them, I feel like we've had a lot of success here. We're running up towards the end of the stream time. So, first of all, if you have any last minute questions, comments, or concerns you'd like to throw into chat, now's a good time to get that going. Otherwise, we'll have to address it next week. In case you have some spare money and are interested in donating to children's hospitals, I'm going to repost the links to the Extra Life fundraising here. You can donate just generally to Extra Life. If you'd be so generous, you can donate in the name of Standing Stone Games, or even in the name of a specific streamer. In this case, we'd love to help the donations of Sans Eret, who is the localization coordinator for Standing Stones Games, and has a modest goal of $350 money this year. If you do donate for any purpose to Extra Life, do go ahead and make sure you fill in that SurveyMonkey link there in chat to get your in-game rewards for doing so. All right, excellent question in chat. Give Me Tomatoes says, I'm using D-Tracker. How do I know what I completed? So, a couple of answers to that. If you're using Deed Tracker, then when you complete a deed in-game, Deed Tracker should automatically know about this and let you know. And so if you go into your in-game deed log, if you already have completed some deeds, it's fine. You can manually complete them, or you can just leave it. But as you continue to complete deeds, those will show up in the deed tracker. There's a more complicated way to update all of your deeds all at once, but we'll just leave it there. You can manually click things off if you want to. Let's say I know I've done Explorer of Breland, I can just go click, and it'll just automatically fill those in for me. Or if you've done all of the Deeds of Breland, you can just click that, and it'll automatically fill them in. Although Deeds of Breland has excluded some things for a long time, and now we have Wildwood, so it's a bit of a misnomer. Deeds of some Breland. Okay, Ghost Dealer in chat. I'm a relatively new player, however, I was curious if there is going to be an option implemented to scale up the UI. You run a 1440p monitor, and the UI is super small for your eyes. So, partially, yes. Let me unload this plugin here. So, in the first place, and hopefully you've already seen this, in the UI settings, if you scroll... Give me tomatoes, I'll get back to you in just a moment. If you scroll down, there is a way to increase and decrease your UI scale for all elements in general using the UI scale button. So you can just press the get bigger and get smaller, and everything will get a little bit bigger and a little bit smaller. You can also adjust specific items. For instance, if you're like, everything's great except for the radar could be bigger. You can just come in here and be like, yeah, now that is a visible radar. Cool. But I wonder how big that used to be. Oh well. Let's go ahead and let's say UI layout load. There we go. On larger screens, some of this scaling has not been sufficient for some people to be able to read text. Like people who are on 4K monitors definitely has some issues reading some text. So there are some in-game options on your quest dialog, for instance, on the lower left-hand corner. When you're just looking at your quest log, I think it's on the lower right-hand corner when you're accepting a quest, you have a text scaling option. So you can kind of drill that up. And that's not even a monitor thing. Sometimes some people just have eyes that really benefit from larger text. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can just have, hey, readable words. Awesome. So that's an option available for you too, as well if you're having trouble reading that text. Chat as well. If you open up the options to chat, I believe to an extent there is an option for making chat bigger. So for instance, my chat is all size 16 point here, and there's support up to 23 point natively right now in the client. The developers at SSG have expressed that they are aware that many people would like to have a more comprehensive solution for things like 4K monitors, but no specific plans or timelines have been announced for that. Sleepy says, oh, sorry, give me tomatoes. So plugins, give me tomatoes, plugins cannot interact, or they can't know which deeds you have completed. What?
In the past.
Kind of. So a plugin can't look at your deed log and say, oh, you've completed Eastern Durance Way. Let me mark that off for you. And so within the game of LOTRO, if you've already completed some deeds, then you'll need to give that information. So, if I come into Eriador, Breland, and it's like, oh, I've completed the Deeds of the Wildwood, I can just scroll on down here and click Deeds of the Wildwood, and it'll mark them all off. And so, yeah, if it's very important to you, I would say look at lifebeyondtheshire.com deed tracker. That's what it is. Deedtracker.lifebeyondtheshire.com. I'll throw that link into chat there. Deed tracker documentation. You can go here and in the little home menu up here, go to import deed completion from LOTRO Companion. Excuse me. Had a little water in my throat. So this will show you how to synchronize your actual deed log with the deed tracker if you so desire. But if you've only completed a few dozen deeds, then it's super fast to just catch it up yourself. But yes, going forward, when you complete a deed, it will automatically pop up with a "you completed a deed" announcement. It will detect that automatically. It can't look into the past. That's all. Sleepy says, are there any patches you could download to make it work, or are you the only one with this problem? Definitely, between the two of us, you're the only one who's not able to download that file. So if you're not at work and your computer's not in a weird state, I really don't know why you're not able to download that file. As we saw, I was able to just start downloading it twice over here, and there should be no reason. There's plenty of German players or players in Germany who are able to download that. That seems like a very temporary problem. Like I said, unless you're on a work machine or at work where they maybe have blocked that. But once you have that file downloaded, it will start downloading all the other files. That's very weird. Ghost Dealer, you didn't know that option existed. Cool, yeah, play around with it. What we're looking at here, this is not the default UI. I have made, especially these buttons down here, a lot bigger than they are by default. Like if we go into the UI settings here, quick slots, where are my quick slots? My quick slot bars are at 1.4, so by default, no, not that. Those must be the detached ones. What are these? What are you? Toolbar? Yeah. So by default, the toolbar is like this, and I get that that works for a lot of people, and all of the icons are in their native size, and it looks very crisp. But for me, that's a very small area to be clicking if I'm clicking things with my mouse. It's hard for me to hit something specifically, and instead of hitting my little subscriber town services, I might accidentally hit my goose, right? Like, and that's not, well, I mean, it's fun, but it's not necessarily what I wanted. So, so for me, taking this toolbar and bringing it up to a 1.4 just really made it feel a lot more, I don't know, comfortable, I guess is the word. Yeah, so play around with it, figure out what works for you. For me, this is, you could call it a 1K monitor, 1920 by 1080. I found a 1.4 scaling in general, and then tweaking some things really worked for my sensibilities. All right, in chat, Tavern, can a plugin make you draw your weapon? Interesting question. In general, I do not think so. If you are in combat, though, or if you are able to be in combat, let's say this DPS target dummy is out here, you can hit the tilde key, at least on American keyboards, it's the tilde key, and that will that will activate your in combat status. So if I come on over here, it knows that I want to be attacking if I am close enough to attack. And if you press tilde again, it says, okay, we're going to stop the auto attack. And so you have that as an option, but cosmetically you can kind of also decide, am I walking around with my weapon visible or not? And so you can just be like, nope, I don't want it to be visible. I do want it to be visible. And those will apply when you are not in combat. So you can visually, like as a one-off, kind of be like, my weapon is here, but it will just sort of show up. You don't have a drawing animation for that. All right, Sleepy, it's your home PC. You'll give it some more. It is so weird, yeah, and it's. I don't know why that is causing you problems. Like I said, if we just go to lotro.com and click on download the game and click the button, it just starts downloading. There's no specific problem with the website that I see. Which isn't to say sometimes there are issues, but that's not what's happening. It's so weird. Ghost Dealer, when accepting quests, I have found the up arrow to scale the quest. It does not save on relog. Is there a way to save that setting? Oh. I don't know. So a thing I would recommend playing around with is the /UI space layout command. Well, I guess we'll just type /UI. And you can save and load UI layouts. And maybe that scaling can be a part of that save file. I haven't played around with it at all. I use the default text scaling, I think. So you might try, /UI space layout space save space the name, give it a friendly name like big text or something. And then see if that the next time we do /UI layout space /UI space layout space load, big text. Maybe that works. It might just be an oversight. There are some things that don't persist, and I hope that they will become better persisted. Let's see. Tavern says maybe in the future we will. Yeah. Right now, yeah, you can choose whether or not your weapon is out or not as you're running around. Since I'm running around with a frying pan, obviously I do want my weapon out all the time. So I'm gonna pop into this building to break myself out of combat with that training dummy. Come on. When you run into a house, first it has to load the house, and then you can stop being in combat. So we can see right here, and I'll turn off my glowy hands. I have said I want to have my weapon out, but that is an option. You can come in here to the cosmetic equipments and go ahead and hide the weapon, and now I've said my weapon is not out. And so, in that sense, you can decide whether or not it is out, but it's for role playing purposes, you might decide yes or no to have it off. But I don't know of any one key system to transition that state. I also don't really know of a drawing animation for that. Lord of the Rings Online definitely streamlines some of the combat options. We were playing with a friend recently, and level 10, level 12 or something, and I gave them a bow. And we walked through how to equip it, and they were like, okay, cool, how do I switch from melee to ranged? And the answer was like, don't worry about it, right? Like the game will decide if you're in melee range, we're going to use melee. Otherwise, we're going to use ranged if we're in range for that. And so there's a lot of streamlining that goes on into Lord of the Rings combat where you don't have to worry about switching between melee and ranged. It just happens. Your character knows how to do that already. You don't have to worry about drawing your weapon, even if you might want to. Now, there are some emotes that do things like, hero pose, right? So if you have earned the emote for the hero pose, you can have an animation of drawing out the sword. I don't even know where I had that sword, right? Like I'm running around with some frying pans. But you can also do sword salute, I think it is. Maybe there's no underscore. Sword salute, all one word? Yeah. So unlock the sword salute emote, and you can, at the press of a keyboard, draw out your sword and do a salute to someone and then put the sword away. And so if you already had a sword out, it's going to look pretty fluid as you're just drawing it up and doing a salute with it and putting it back. You're looking for it for immersion reasons. Yeah. I can appreciate that. There's a lot of immersion to be had in LOTRO. Anyway, maybe some of the emotes will help you out with that. But that's all I've got. Cool. Excellent questions. Thank you all. I think the questions have started to trickle up, and we have just hit 2 minutes past the hour here. 22:02 here in the Netherlands. I believe no one else. There are some people on the schedule, but I believe I7 and Shoreless are not today. So this may have been the last official LOTRO streaming that is happening today. There may be other people streaming though, so feel free to do a search for that. Let's see, do I have that link?
Those words show who is you.
Oh yes. And I don't do a lot of streaming nowadays other than here, just a shortage of time, but I am B4, aka B414213562, and you can feel free to throw me a follow, but I don't know that I will... I don't know what that does. I don't know if you are notified if I start streaming over here, but if you also can find us announcing such things over on the Twitter account, Little Redhead. And so every Tuesday we pre-announce over there on twitter.com /BeyondShire. Little Redhead announces the Heart of a Hobbit stream. I announce the Plug and Along stream over there as well. And so you can just have a reminder there. All right. People are saying thank you. You are very welcome. And I think that is that's the wrong button. I think that's a very good place to end that. Talk about clicking on the wrong things. I'm clicking on the wrong things. Sterling says, very good. Thank you for the great insights. You are very welcome. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. That's everything we're going to cover today. I hope to see you here again next week. And until then, keep plugging along. All right. Bye-bye now.